Miami, the market's on fire. To buy, to sell, to hold takes you higher. Zalewski and Hernandez, you know the sound. Ya tú sabes.
Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, a real estate podcast. I'm Peter Zalewski, condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. I'm joined here by my partner, my co-host, the moderator, Daniel Hernandez over at Compass Real Estate. His office is in Coconut Grove. He does single-family houses as well as condos. Daniel, 2 weeks to the FIFA World Cup, and all of the problems that developers have selling units, they're all going to be solved.
Oh, they're all going to go away, right?
Everybody's coming here to buy. They want the $35 hamburger with tax, tip, and fries, and they want condos.
Well, then you should send them to, what was that place you were just telling me about? Super Pizza?
Shh.
Oh, we
We
can't
do
tell.
not want to disclose that.
Peter
No
has,
kidding.
if you're a subscriber to Peter's Substack, and if you're not, I encourage you to be one. But if you're a super duper exclusive subscriber, you get Peter's underground food list of places that he doesn't want anybody to know anything about. Is that right?
I'm cheap, like they say, like a lot of the people from South America say, I would rather walk on my elbows than ruin the soles of my shoe. If it's cheap, it's good value. I probably have found it. I've been there, and hopefully I haven't gotten banned.
Well, I didn't mention anything about Super Pizza. It's not on 32nd Avenue. It's not. All right, sorry. If you're just joining us for the first time today, this is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami. If you look in the bottom left of your screen, or if you're looking at us on the phone, it's right there in the middle. And that's what we call the rundown. So week after week, Peter and I throw around a number of stories. We settle on 5 of them, and we talk about them. And so you're going to see some statements there. And so we got you for an hour. So we got each topic for about 7 to 10 minutes. And if we go a little bit over, that's fine too, because we know that you want to hear about it. So jumping right into it, once somebody gets there, they'll be there. Now, out of context, you're like, Daniel, what the hell are we talking about? And that's a quote from Mr. Russell Galbit. He's the head of Crescent Heights, founder of GFO Investments. And he ran into a little bit of, let's say, confrontation regarding his Galleria development. Galleria is a shopping mall that's seen better days up there in Broward, up there in Fort Lauderdale. And he has plans to enlist the power of Live Local to redevelop Galleria into a 30-story residential towers, thousands of units, retail, hotel, and roughly, per Live Local, 40% workforce housing. Sounds great, right, Peter?
Well, it sounds great, but there's a history of this property. If anybody doesn't know this property, it's going to be on Sunrise Boulevard. It's just east of Federal. It'll be on the south side of the street. You know when you get there because there's a Capitol Grill, and at that Capitol Grill on Sundays, there's Caribbean night. All our West Indian brethren coming out from Miramar, coming from Lauderhill, coming from everywhere. They all show up there, and that is the place to be. And for the longest time, Daniel, the place was underutilized. There's parking lots everywhere, surface parking, located, I don't know, maybe a block from the intercoastal and just across a little bridge where you get to Fort Lauderdale Beach. It is an excellent location, but everybody in Fort Lauderdale is NIMBY, not in my backyard. I got mine. I don't want anybody else coming.
So Galbit's come out and said that Broward is sort of like, and you've used this analogy too, the hole in the donut. You got Miami, which is hot, 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 hot. You got Palm Beach, which is hot, 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 hot. And then Broward's like, yeah, it's the rest stop on the way, right? It's a stop on the Bright Line. So
if I could just give people context. So if you look at the numbers, Palm Beach County is going to be your domestic wealthy. Miami-Dade County is going to be your international wealthy, and Broward County is where all the workers are that serve the people to the north or the people to the south, is the way I would put it. The cheapest condo prices around. A lot of old condo product out there. The houses are nice, but they don't have the shine and the vanity of what you're going to find in Miami-Dade County, and they don't have the old school money that you're going to have in Palm Beach County. So it's sort of a mishmash. It's the middle child that neither parent loves too much.
And this is just the latest chapter in a municipality pushing back against Live Local. We've seen it happen in Miami Beach. We've seen it happen in Bell Harbor. Now we're seeing it here in Fort Lauderdale. And developers are kind of coming in and saying, well, I just want to build my density. And then the NIMBYs, not in my backyards, are saying, well, we don't want your density. But that's the whole point of Live Local. It's recognizing that we have an affordability crisis. We need to give developers a way to basically circumvent the municipal administrations because let's be real, most administrators are not real estate people and they just don't understand. So, it'll take years and months to get a project like this off just to groundbreaking, really. And so Galbit's like, I'm so frustrated. And he comes out confronting these NIMBYs and he does something he shouldn't have done, Peter.
Tell me.
He called them idiots.
I'm not going to say he's wrong, but it's probably not appropriate if you're trying to get approval, especially in a market that you don't know. If you are in Dade County, Russell Galbert knows everybody, especially on Miami Beach. You go up to Broward County, different rules of engagement, different quality of people, different style of people. New Yorkers come down to Miami. New Englanders go to Fort Lauderdale and Broward County. Big difference in the clientele and the demographics.
And so Galbit's argument towards all this, it goes, he's looking at Galleria. Broward's even looking at Galleria saying, this is an eyesore. And if you look at where it is on the map there, it's on a main boulevard that goes basically east to west, all the way to the beach, all the way to 95. And so the NIMBYs are saying, well, you want to build all this density. Traffic's already awful here. We don't want more traffic. And then Galbit's retort to this is, no, what I'm trying to do, and per the quote on the rundown, once somebody gets there, they'll be there, meaning that they're not going to want to go anywhere else. We've heard this concept from developers time and time again, the 15-minute city. Everybody wants their development to be like Paris. We ain't in Paris, guys. And by the way, in Paris, we don't have, 1.5 cars a unit?
Yep, 1.5 cars and 0.5 dogs.
Ooh, stinky. Could be.
Do not walk in the street. Don't walk in the grass anywhere.
So, Peter, I mean, what are your thoughts on all this? Is Fort Lauderdale, and I don't want to single out Fort Lauderdale, but I'm going to, is Fort Lauderdale just not seeing the light at the end of this tunnel?
All right, so let me take you back 20 years ago. 20 years ago, there was a movement, there was a condo boom, a great condo boom that occurred between 2002 and 2011. Miami-Dade County blew up with condos, Broward not so much. Fort Lauderdale especially not. You know why? Anti-development. They want controlled growth. They are taking a Miami Beach approach, which ironically is what Russell loves. And for the record, I've done consulting for the Russell back in the day. So Miami Beach is about quality of life, which means low density, bigger units, and give people quality of life, and they'll pay a premium for it. However, if you go into downtown Miami, you got high density, you got big units, you got all this type of stuff. So Russell's made a lot of money in Miami Beach with the high quality of life. He's going into an area where the locals, they want the quality of life. They don't want the density. They want bigger units. For instance, Daniel, if you check out some of these units in and around there, some of these little condos, many of them have a restriction that says you can buy a condo. You can never, ever, ever rent it out just to cut down on rentals. Yep, never. And other ones say you got to live there 2 years before you can rent it out. This is not a market that embraces investors. It wants it's really got that NIMBY effect. But what happened is we had that downturn. We had the crash that occurred after Lehman Brothers, and Fort Lauderdale sort of changed their mind because their tax base fell dramatically. They started to embrace development, but Sunrise Boulevard right over here, they never embrace it. They will never embrace it. They are all about that the boat parade that they do to kick off the year in December. If anybody doesn't know, there's a parade that goes on up and down the Intercoastal in Fort Lauderdale. Sunrise is a major place for it. There's a bunch of old condos in and around there. Fort Lauderdale's a fun place, but they don't necessarily want newcomers. They want Miami to take it, and they want Palm Beach to take it. They do not want it in their own backyard. And for what it's worth, Daniel, Sunrise Boulevard, if you were to go due west, you run into the swap shop. You kept going, you'd run into the cricket ground, the Lauderhill cricket ground, the Oval. Just to give people sort of context. If you're in Miami Beach, you come off of 71st Street, you go due west, you end up at Hialeah Racetrack. Well, if you are in Fort Lauderdale, you take Sunrise from the beach, you go all the way west, and you end up in the Lauderhill and the Oval for the cricket. Just to give people context.
I think I see you over there, Peter.
watching cricket.
Yeah. Hopefully, you're going to see me soon. Although the little bit of funny business going on with the Major League Cricket, but that's another story. Some of these tech billionaires out on the West Coast, I got a bone to pick with them, but we can talk about that at a different episode.
Once somebody gets there, they'll be there, Peter. Buy, sell, hold.
Well, what I will tell you is the only reason a Miami developer will go into Fort Lauderdale, especially Fort Lauderdale Beach, is that the Miami market is over. There's no more opportunity in Miami, so that's why they go to Fort Lauderdale. What do they do? Well, what do they do? When they come from Dade and they go into Broward, and Gil Desert has done it, Harvey Hernandez has done it, Donald Trump tried it. He tried to do it with a project that went, as they say in Tampa, tits up. Everybody tries to go up there. Mass Capital, they went up there. They all try to go up there. They all try to do it. They think they understand it. And you know what they do, Daniel? They do the same damn thing that we see when out-of-towners come into Miami and they think because they built in their hometown, they're going to be a success here, and it never ends well. So if I have any advice for Russell, I would say, Russell, listen, JV with somebody, have somebody walk you through the process. I don't know how much you've built in Fort Lauderdale. I don't know how successful you've been, but this approach in Fort Lauderdale is not going to work. They will dig in, they will fight back, and they will jam you up. So you got it off your chest, and you're not necessarily wrong about what you said, but you got to understand who's on the other side, and these people will dig in. That's why Galleria Mall has been standing underutilized. There was a big ownership group out of, I think it was Pennsylvania, that owned it. They tried to do this 10, 12 years ago. They couldn't get over the finish line. Why the hell is Russell Gelbis going to get over the finish line is what I would say. So on this case, Russell's comment is I would probably have to be a sell.
You're a sell. Thinking about the 15-minute city thing, and I know that's very aspirational, and there's a lot of marketing jumbo that goes into that. I want to believe it. And you know, looking through the lens of workforce housing and affordable housing, the current state of workforce housing, if there even is one, is bad. You got people having to commute. Well, I don't know where the workers commute in Broward. They commute from out west. They commute from inland Palm Beach County. Because right here in Dade, they got to commute from Homestead. So anything is better than the current idea. So if this is the best bad idea we have, I'm a buy.
And you're not wrong, but what I will tell you is Fort Lauderdale is much of a suburban mentality versus Miami, which is increasingly an urban mentality. In Fort Lauderdale, they want to drive up, they want to park right in front of the store. 15 minutes might be fine, but they want to be able to drive the 15 minutes, not walk the 15 minutes, which is what I love. So just to sort of throw that out there for perspective.
I hear you, babe. All right. Kissing Baby sells more condos. So there's a coordinated effort, Peter, sort of happening, and I saw it last week in the Miami Herald. In fact, I'm gonna bring it up so that the gang can see right there, smack dab on the front page of the Miami Herald. You know who I saw? I saw Mr. David Martin.
That's a good shot. He looks good, David. You look good.
He does look good. So there's a Dave Martin. He's at Swire. This is David Martin. This is our guy. This is Tara. He's in everything, and he was on the front page of the paper. Why? Because he financed a short film. I encourage everybody to see it. I'll link it in the description of the YouTube after the show. But it's a short film basically about Miami and how Miami's going through some rough times and effectively what we can do to make it better. And David's all about making Miami better. Right, he bought the lease out of the Sequarium. He wants to make that better. He's a big proponent of the underline. He wants to make that better. He wants to do that bridge, the Rickenbacker. What are they calling it? The underdeck, the underdraft, the something like that with Raquel Regalado. So he's really out there in the press trying to rah Miami. And then I guess our other local child, Mr. George Perez, saw this and said, shit, I got to get the PR team out there. And he got on Despierta America earlier this week. And he's talking about, the qualms that we have here in Miami and how developers are here to make things better. And George Perez, I'll give him credit where credit is due. He's always been a very big patron of the arts. Fine. What?
No, I'm listening.
Look, we talked about this earlier this week, and you told me, Peter, this is part of the playbook. Now tell everybody, what playbook are we talking about here? Why now? Why are we seeing a tremendous PR push amongst developers?
Well, what I should also mention too is that you are seeing other developers step forward. Andy Anson from North Bay Village fame, who also owns a bunch of dirt up in Miramar, he's suddenly starting to come out. You also got Mr. Rosso, Carlos Rosso, the guy building all those pickleball or paddleball or tennis courts or whatever the hell he's building in Midtown. He's out there. And just for kicks, George Perez's two kids, JP and Nick, they went on CNBC. All of a sudden, it is raining developers all over audio, video, social media. They're everywhere, Daniel. They're everywhere.
They're not. They didn't call us though.
They don't want to come on. I don't know if they want to come on our show because we might ask them the questions. Listen, this is part of the playbook, and this will go back to my favorite book ever about Florida real estate called Bubble in the Sun. Came out in 2019, written by a guy called Christopher Knowlton, a financial journalist. It's nonfiction about 1920s Florida land boom. Let's go back 100 years, Daniel. 100 years ago, the Florida land boom, it hits its peak when that Prince Valdemar ship tips over, stops a turning basin right there by Watson Island. And a few months later, we get the September hurricane, 1926. The market is over. So you know what the developers do because of all the bad attention going? They get on a train, old man Flagler, Henry Flagler's train. They take that damn thing all the way up to New York City. They sit down with all the fat cats on Wall Street, and they tell them, listen, everything is great in Florida. You need to come invest, come buy. This is your opportunity. And you know what many of the people did who went to that lunch, and I think it was at the New York Economics Club, they all went out and started selling their stock. This is the playbook that developers use when the market is starting to get ruffled. It's starting to get unquestionable. It's starting to have questions. People are starting to have concerns. These developers are stepping out. They're trying to calm the market. They're trying to inspire people. Listen, if the market was so good, we wouldn't be seeing them do this type of stuff. This is a calming effect. This is an attempt to kind of jumpstart or change the momentum and the psychology.
Why the community angle then? Why not just say the market's hot, 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 hot? That's what everybody else says. Maybe that's just too easy. Is calling it community more of a nebulous thing? Oh, we're building a community. It's all about the community. Or my read on this, Peter, was you have a lot of big domestic money coming from big cities, right? And like old cities. Miami's a new city, relatively speaking. But you want to talk about Chicago, you want to talk about New York. These are cities where you have arts and public works and community and public housing and not affordability crises. And so they get down here and they want all of this stuff. So if there's so much competition amongst developers to sell product, to sell condos, maybe these developers who go forward and show that they are patrons of these services and of these systems that real big cities have, they'll say, oh, well, maybe I'll look at the St. Regis instead of looking at, Fulanito's building over there.
Well, and you got to look at the different generations. The millennials love community. Gen Z, I don't know. They tend to lean in towards Gen X, so we'll see how they kind of go down. But community is definitely a big thing. But let me compare and contrast. If you want to know the way a developer thinks, let's go back to story number one. Russell Galbert comes out and tells the people of Fort Lauderdale, you basically don't know your head from your ass. I'm doing something that's good for you. And now these developers are coming out and they're taking the softer, gentler, the suave approach. Russell Galbert speaks like developers. This is simply spin in order to calm the market and try to spur some sort of investment. And if you can sell it off a community, it's just like selling it off of wellness. Wellness. That's what community is. Same thing. It's hot right now. Take advantage of the demographic, and maybe that'll turn the market.
What about cabarets? Where does the market fall on cabarets?
Well, cabaret, don't call them strip joints. We will have to see how that one kind of plays out. But I'm pretty excited to kind of see everything coming through, and it's all starting to shake out, and people are starting to be able to pay attention. It's one thing when you're going forward and you're building, and everything is 100% sold out or 500% sold out. Just like prescription drugs have come down 1,000%. So when you got your 500% sold out, that is fantastic. But once you start to actually close the units, it becomes a little bit different story. But whenever you see a developer go out, and we foreshadowed this in season one, this is probably something to watch for. Now that they're all coming out, that is a tell, just like when you walk into a sales office and you ask how much is the commission being paid by the developer, when it should be 5% and all of a sudden they're offering you 7 and 8%. That's a tell as to how good sales are going. So watch this for what it is. This is an opportunity for those buyers to go in and start taking advantage of maybe some softness, some weakness in the market. The industry says it's a rebalancing, which is healthy. Other people say it's starting to unravel. So you'll have to decide which way it's going. But developers have other things to do, like go on their boats and wine and dine people and buy artwork. They don't want to go in and talk to the press. Why would they talk to the press? That's the last thing they want to do. They need the press right now. They need the attention because they need to somehow jumpstart their projects, which I would guess are flailing.
So if you had to say, if you had to make a prediction, who's the next big boy? Who's going to be on the front page of the Herald this Sunday?
Well, I mean, George Perez and his kids have already taken a tour. Russell Galbert probably needs to get somewhere after coming out there and ripping a new ass for all of these people in Fort Lauderdale. Maybe the Sun Sentinel will do something, but I'm not really sure. You know who we should see on the front page?
Ken Billions.
Based on the South Florida Business Journal reporting that the Mercedes-Benz project got hit with a foreclosure, and then there was a countersuit. I think Michael Stern, the developer, Michael, you ought to come out. Why don't you give us your take on things going on? We know about the foreclosure, and I'm sure you're going to be able to get through it. You're countersuing, yada, yada, yada. But why don't we get some community talk from Michael Stern?
Big words from Mr. Peter Zalewski. So does Kissing Baby sell more condos? I'm a hold.
Hell no. No, I'm a sell. Pound the table. Sell, sell, sell.
Ooh, I like it. It's spicy. We are contested today. Well, if you've been a loyal watcher, listener of our show, you've probably heard us yap about Fisher Island. Fisher Island, one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest zip code in America. It's a little island right there off the coast of Miami Beach. I'm going to bring it up for the gang. It was actually part of Miami Beach until about 1909, 1910, when they dredged the port and they literally cut it off. And that's why we have what we call today government's cut, right? Government's cut. And so over there on Fisher Island in the 20s, they built these guys. These little itty bitty, actually they're quite massive, but these are they're petroleum storage site. There's $30 million houses 2,000 feet away, and there happens to be a little school on Fisher Island, if you didn't know, about 200 feet away per the Fisher Island Association there. Now, why are we talking about this, Peter? Because, well, Related bought it for 180 million rupees, US dollars.
I was going to say, that's a lot more than 180 million rupees. Yeah, that's a many more rupees.
$180 million. And the problem with this is that these fuel terminals, if I zoom out a little bit, they power this larger man-made island over here directly to the west. And that is Port Miami, not Port of Miami, Port Miami, not like, the Facebook. It's just Facebook, guys. So if you look at Dodge Island, it's full of containers. There's usually cruises, about 10 of them now, parked alongside that north end. And there is no room for fuel tanks on Fisher Island, which is a big whoopsies because just the cruise ship industry alone, I think we pulled the numbers a few weeks ago, $61 billion a year. We do condos and we do cruises here, guys. And so without one or the other, it looks really bad for the county. So Related and their partners want to build condos here. Hey, that's what we do. We build condos. But where are the fuel tankers going to fill up? Where are the barges going to fill up with fuel? They don't know. They don't really have an answer for it. So they're talking about eminent domaining it, when the government buys something because they need it and they'll pay fair market value for it. Well, fair market value for this, Peter, per what I'm seeing in the press, $400 million. And that's going to come from
Wait, whoa. President Trump's library site is supposedly worth $67 million. You're going to tell me this thing is 5x more?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Who the hell are the appraisers?
So, right. And by the way, with you don't see it here on Google Maps, but there's a tower going up here. I think it's called The Six at 6 Fisher Island. You got units in here going for tens of millions of dollars. So, hey, why not just sell it? You don't have to entitle. You don't have to build anything. They filed for their zoning change just last month. Related did. But at the same time, they're negotiating with the county to sell it. And then you have, if you zoom out a little bit, there's the Master Association here on Fisher Island, who definitely doesn't want these fuel terminals here because part of the development would be them them being related, making a public space and a park. So there would be a 4-acre sort of Fisher Island community aspect to this that would get rid of the fuel tankers, the petroleum storage facility. So there's a lot of things happening here, but effectively $180 million shelter related. County really needs it. There's a $400 million price tag on it. And the Fisher Island Association says, hey, actually, we're not going to approve the sale because, well, it's our island. So there's a ton going on here. What I want to know is Mayor Eileen Higgins was the Miami-Dade commissioner who oversaw this when the sale happened. How did they allow this to happen, Peter?
Come on, Eileen. What were you thinking here? I got a couple different ideas as to how this can play out and how it should play out, at least from my perspective. Can I throw them out there, or do you want me to answer something first or give my opinion?
No, please. This is what we're doing here, baby.
All right, awesome. So just to give people some perspective, a little historical, if you zoom out, Daniel, you're going to see the lighthouse, Bill Baggs State Park, right there at the end of Key Biscayne. You guys see that if you zoom in? Yep, there you go. So as you're zooming in, there's a lighthouse there. That's the way people used to get into the Port of Miami. Port of Miami was effectively in and around where Museum Park is, where George Perez has his museum and Philip Ross has his science museum. People would hook around there and they would work their way in, which is why the government ended up cutting through. So the government goes ahead, they cut through. Over the course of time, they're dredging and they dump everything in, and ultimately becomes Dodge Island. There's been some stories written by Casey Paquette, who's got Miami History Substack. Excellent. If anybody hasn't seen it, check it out. Yeah, so basically Dodge was like some captain or somebody who was involved with the dredging, and everybody just started calling it Dodge Island. So that's how Dodge Island comes about. But at the end of the day, here's my advice to Mayor Cava. Mayor Cava, what you need to do is you need to string George Perez and the related group along. Negotiate. Take him to the 11th hour, and at the last second, say you don't want it. Jam him up and make sure that the market is doing what he's doing. That's why he's out there doing TV. That's why his kids are doing TV. That's why David Martin's doing TV, because the market's changing. Take him to the end. Say you don't want it. Negotiate him down. Take the $400 million. Don't pay any more than the $67 million as to what President Trump's library site is worth. That's the right number, is what I would say. Well, he got it for $10. You're right.
Not $10 million, $10.
$10, exactly. So that would be my suggestion. Negotiate. Pull the ripcord at the last second. Have them come back to you, because they're going to get jammed up with that site for probably a little bit of a while, is what I would say. Why do I say that? We have an index. We track Fisher Island. Everybody's selling at Fisher Island. You know how many units are trading? Zero. It's the worst market in South Florida is Fisher Island, based on the resale, based on our index. I know they're talking about these big units. Maybe they're trading, maybe they're not. Who's to say? But in terms of resales, dead in the water. If Related's looking to sell this, my opinion is they probably know it's going to be a little bit of a hold, and they don't necessarily want to be land banking on expensive dirt, especially if it's $400 million and you're facing a property tax bill at 2%, assuming Governor DeSantis doesn't outlaw that. But let's go back to the fuel tanks. Are they necessary? Yeah, probably. What's a better idea? Get rid of the cargo. Get rid of the gantry cranes.
I really like that idea. I really like turning it into a cruise ship terminal.
Make it all cruise ships. We don't have enough space to do cargo. Cargo should be Fort Lauderdale, Port Everglades. Turn this all cruises. Turn this into a community. Think Navy Pier in Chicago. Turn this into a place you can have parties, you can have VIP, Super Bowl, we can have Ultra, we can have everything here. Have the cruise ships coming in. You can build some hotels, you can build some retails. Get Jorge Mas. Hey, old man Mas, you just put up your new stadium with David Beckham. Come on down here and build another one over here. You got some free dirt. You can do everything you want. It would be a perfect. And if you want to have a VIP party, you basically, the only way on and off is going to be with the bridge, because you always got the Coast Guard and everybody else monitoring it. This would be the best party place. Forget downtown Disney. This would be downtown Miami, and it could be spectacular.
Oh, the Fisher Island Community Association would love that.
That's what to do. That is the way they ought to handle it. But in terms of George Perez and the related group selling this off, they'd be lucky to get $400 million for this dirt at this moment in time. Now, if they want to land bank it, just like they were land banking the Capitol Grill site over there on the west side of Brickell Avenue for a long, long, long time, that's a different story. But I don't think that they're necessarily in the game to do that. I think they see this as an opportunity to maybe get out of it, use the controversy of fuel tanks to sort of bow out. But Mayor Cava, negotiate, 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 and at the 11th hour, pull the ripcord and watch them come chase you.
The county has never owned this, though. I need to be clear. This was built literally 100 years ago. It's changed corporate hands so many times.
Yeah, I think there was a big insurance company. Wasn't there a big insurance company that owned most of Fisher Island in like the 80s?
No, but I'm talking about specifically the fuel ship term, the tankers. The county, if this is so integral to our GDP here, why hadn't the county bought it? The county could have picked it up for the tens of millions of dollars even 30, 40 years ago, probably.
So the actual owner is the related group, and they bought it from who? Do you remember?
Montagny. I'm not going to pronounce that correctly.
Okay.
But it's a JV called Port Miami HRP Fisher Island, and these guys Montagne, they had listed it for 200. Related and their partners picked it up for a cool 180. When they listed this thing for 200, Miami-Dade should have been all over it. They just couldn't have been because they had a $450 million budget gap.
I don't know. If it was me, I would have them come to me with a sweetheart deal if I were picking it off. So if you're Mayor Cava, if you're not in negotiations, just sit back. They're going to come to you. They will think that you're going to be able to pay for it. I mean, listen, if they're putting up a new tower there right now, and if you look at the resales and nothing is trading on the resale side, how much excitement is there to go in there and suddenly build these? Maybe there are. Maybe you got Ken Billions with all his investments. You got Jeff Bezos. You got Alex Karp from Palantir. You got Larry Page. You got all these other types. Maybe there's a market for it. I don't know. But if the pitchforks and the torches come out, I don't know.
Yeah, but they'd have to swim to Fisher Island to pitchfork them. All right. Miami-Dade's $400 million oopsies on Fisher Island. I think it's an oopsies. I'm a buy.
No, I think they're playing it right, personally. I think the county's playing it right. I think they got some real estate appraiser people who are taking a look at it. They're not saying $400 million, and they're just playing the game. So I would be a sell. I think the county's in a good position, personally.
Ooh, all right, Peter.
And who knows? Maybe this creates the drama, so we get rid of the cargo. We take those Granchi cranes up the Miami River, and they hawk them off. They can melt them down, and we turn this into downtown Miami, just like downtown Dadeland. Not downtown Dadeland, downtown Disney.
Downtown Dadeland. That's not a good one.
Nah, that's not a good one.
Florida man is thirsty for a tax break. So this is the meaty one, guys, and I know everybody wants to talk about this. The amount of people that have sent me stuff about this week is crazy. So Governor Ron DeSantis, he's been pushing, and if you've been watching the show, we've been talking about it. He's been pushing to slash property taxes, Peter. Crazy, right? So for anybody who's not in Miami, not in Florida, we don't have any income tax here. So everything you see, the public hospitals, the parks, anything that a city would pay for comes from property taxes. Peter, where's it all come from? 1%, 1%, 1%, one third.
Yep, 2% property tax based on the value. If you homestead it because you're a resident, you're able to lock in the value of the exposure. It only goes up based on CPI, which, by the way, did you see is 3.8%? This is the highest inflation's been in 3 years. So anybody out there expecting lower mortgage rates, not happening anytime soon. But yeah, 2% of the value, a third to the county, a third to the school board, a third to the city. That's how they fill the coffers, is with property taxes. So they can basically build all these projects. They can fill the potholes. They can pay the teachers. They can do anything else they need to do.
So there has been no less than a dozen plans. So DeSantis back in December sort of floated this. Then he locked everybody in groups back in January and said, come back to me with some ideas. The ideas were awful with capital letters all abound. And now he's come back this week and says, guys, I got it. I got the idea. So somebody presented him an idea that he really likes. And I need to say, this is not past the House or the Senate. This is just an idea. This has to get a supermajority in the House and up there in Tallahassee, and then it would go to referendum where we would need a 60% vote to make this happen. And what is this? So he wants to just up the homestead exemption. It's not going to completely eliminate property tax. So right now, the homestead exemption here is you buy a house, it's $1 million, you get taxed on $950,000 because you get a $50,000 exemption on that assessed value. He wants to up that to $500,000. And what he claims would eliminate property taxes for 92% of the people in the state. I think we need to fact check them on that because I don't see 92% of the properties in the state being under $500,000, especially in a place like Dade County where the median home value for single family is upwards almost $700,000. I think it's at $674,000. So yes, would it cut property taxes for a lot of people? Yeah. But what about all those rural communities that make all their money from property taxes? In Osceola County, they ain't got cruises. No, right? George Perez ain't building over there. So there's all
Maybe he should.
Yeah, maybe he should. So again, with the best bad idea, going back to that saying when we were talking about the first topic, this is just the latest chapter in the best bad idea. I think DeSantis, he's a lame duck governor. He's trying to make this his legacy. And while, yes, I appreciate that this could do a lot for middle-class homeowners in Florida, this can do much more in terms of breaking everything.
So we don't like communism in Florida. We also don't like socialism.
I love citizens.
How are you gonna? Yeah, how are you gonna give this socialistic break to homeowners? I mean, to me, it seems hypocritical. I mean, does it not? I mean, if you really were into capitalism, you'd eliminate homestead right altogether. Have the property taxes trade, have them assessed based on what the real value is. Why are you carving out and giving some people an advantage and some people a disadvantage? Is what I would say. And for disclosure, I rent. I'll probably buy once these prices come down the way I think they're going to come down, but that's a different story. But how are you a capitalist? You want to cap profitability. You want to cap how much money is generated. Why not let the free market sort of gauge it, is what I would sort of say. And I also find it interesting that he's stepping back. He's stepping back from the idea that ultimately everybody would have to go to Tallahassee, bend a knee to whoever the governor is in order to have a decision. Because if you eliminate property taxes, what's going to happen? Everything is going to be controlled out of Tallahassee, that place far, far away, a galaxy far, far away. If you're down here in South Florida, people don't want to do that. Local representation, it can decide how you're going to spend your money. We don't need Tallahassee telling us how exactly things ought to be going done. So I'm happy he's gotten some pushback. He's pulling back. But okay, granted, you're going to make it $50,000. You're going to make it $500,000. Yeah, I mean, it sounds good on the surface, but let me ask you this. Ask yourself, you got a $500,000 condo, you get hit 2% property tax a year. What are you giving up in return for that? What are you going to get nickeled and dimed on something else that right now is common? It's a given.
The two low-hanging fruits that I see, one, sales tax, right? I think that's an awful idea because we have so much tourism. So what, you're going to get people coming here to shop? Right now we got sales tax at 6%. They've talked about doubling it to 12%. Oh, that would fix it. That's a bad idea. Other idea, and there's two philosophies here in terms of what it would do to the real estate market. Could it unlock a lot of transactions maybe? People who bought investment properties and they're like, this no longer pencils for me. Now I'm going to sell it. And so would that flood the condo market that's already flooded with inventory right now? You think 24 months is bad, Peter? Wait till this goes through and it's 44 months, right? Because this doesn't help investors. This doesn't help snowbirds. This all and here's the extra piece, the bonus, the cherry on top, if I may. You need to have residency for 5 years to get to unlock the 500K.
This is simply manipulation. Why do you have to I mean, we are a capitalistic society. We are a red state. We can stand on our own. We're strong enough. We want competition. We want a lot of competition. We don't want all the competition. Come on. We're one way or we're the other way. You're not half pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. Which way are we going to go? And what this sounds to me like is a little bit of backpedaling, little cha-cha-cha. If you really want to make a difference in people's lives, deal with insurance. Insurance, insurance, insurance. Property tax. People pay the money for property tax. They know where the money's going. Now, granted, some of it's squandered. Absolutely. Where's the insurance money going? That's what people want to know. Where is the insurance money
It's
going?
leaving the
Stop
state.
wasting time. Stop wasting time on property taxes. Deal with the insurance. This is a huge market. This is an opportunity. Why don't we bang the insurance companies? And also, too, just for shits and giggles, let's throw in there, you really want to raise money? You know what you ought to do? You ought to have surge electricity pricing. Take expensive neighborhoods
Ooh.
and charge them a higher percentage. And a poorer neighborhood, charge them a less. You'll get some regentrification going on then. Trust me on that one. And by the way, that is credit to Bogota, Colombia. That's how they do it in Colombia.
Really?
Based on your neighborhood, your electricity will fluctuate. It's all proportional based on the value of your home. So if we really want to get creative, we really want to find solutions, there are other ideas out there. It's just we somehow have our heads in the sand. At least though we're not going to be bending the knee up in Tallahassee, which is a good thing.
My fear, whether this saves people money or cuts city services, it's going to do all of those things, but it's putting the financial health of every municipality in the state of Florida in the hands of our local administrators to balance budgets there that they're already not able to balance.
How? Okay, so from a legislative perspective, how often are these people working? They're up there like 3 months a year. Is that their main gig? Are they
Nice
living
gig.
off of that? Or
Good work if you can get it.
Or are they doing other things? The legislature typically gets together, everybody powwows, they make adjustments, they make decisions, and then they go back home and they do whatever that is they're doing. I mean, if it's a full-time gig now, that's a different story, but I don't necessarily see how and why we need to just keep changing things and changing things. If you're a capitalist, let the market float and get rid of Homestead is what I would say, and I know that is a radical type of perspective, but
You are
there's
such a
lot of
radical,
people,
Peter.
but think about it, a lot of people are stuck in their house because of their homestead exemption. Their property tax is so low, they're staying in a house that they don't need. They have excess space, they have excess square footage. The property tax is low, so they're able to kind of make the numbers work. If we fluctuated and this was real pricing, real active pricing, it probably would all level out. It's just, we would see a shifting.
Is that the way? Or
I think it is.
Yeah, but that is political suicide. Any politician who votes for that, even though it might be the best long-term plan, they're out of the job. Right? Yeah. I mean, it's so wildly unpopular.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's popular. I'm saying looking at it, if you really want to solve some of these issues, you really want to be in the money, you really want to sort of bring a level market, you want to recalibrate the market, you want to operate efficiently. This is not an efficient approach. This is manipulation. This is tinkering. We all know every time the government tinkers with something, it always ends well, as we all are well aware.
I got Mark over here saying that we definitely need insurance affordability reform. That's where it's
at. Insurance. Governor DeSantis, drop the property tax BS. We all know how the money is spent. Is it some of it squandered? Yes, but you got your own Doge. Stick your Doge boys on them. Deal with the property insurance. That is the big issue. It's continued to be the big issue, and it's been the big issue forever and ever and ever. Surfside, the collapse 5-year anniversary begins in less than a month, and it was a tragedy. Insurance has gone up. Insurance has gone up tremendously. Is it down this year? Yes, because we didn't have a big hurricane season. I'll tell you what, though, we get some storms rolling through the Sunshine State this year. That insurance is going to go up, and you got so many people standing on the cliff. They don't give a shit about $50,000 savings on their property taxes. They care about insurance because they can't afford it. So some of them are being forced to go bare or go naked, if you will. But if you're in a condo, you can't do that. What happens if people start falling out? Everybody out in that building potentially could be in default of their mortgage because you can't afford a condo. Maybe you got condo associations going BK. Maybe you got to go down to the Honeycomb building on Flagler Street, and that's where you're going to do a bulk deal because these buildings are going, as they say in Tampa, tits up. This is something to deal with. Property tax is not the priority. This is a diversion. Deal with property insurance.
boy, oh boy. Oh man, we're back. We're back. We're back. Are you here, Peter?
Yep. You got me too excited. You got me too excited.
Too excited. I'm a buy. You are a
Read me the way it's stated, if you could.
Florida man is thirsty for a tax break.
Oh, yeah, I'm a buy on that, 100%.
He's a buy on that.
He's
All
drinking
right.
out of the wrong hose, though. That's the wrong hose, Governor DeSantis. Put down the property tax hose. Pick up the property insurance hose if you're going to drink out of it.
All right. Maybe that should have been the last one, but I wanna zoom back in to Miami here, and I want to look at Gables Estates. Peter, I know you only do condos, but I was perusing through the property appraiser, as I do, and I came across sort of an interesting thing here. I was looking at the property appraiser, and I saw that there are no less than 4 or 5 homes here in Gables Estates that are under construction. And these are big homes. To give you an idea, this lot that I'm looking at right here is 70,000 square feet, or just under 2 acres. The one right next to it, let's see, 130,000 square feet. So roughly 3 acres, right? These are big houses, and they're transacting at prices pre-COVID, $20 million. So God knows what they're only worth today. And so for anybody that doesn't really understand where we are, I'm going to pull it up for the gang. So Gables Estates is a collection of, what is it, like 170 something houses, 180 houses?
Can I give everybody just a real short history on it?
Yeah, tell us about Mr. Arthur Vining Davis, Peter.
Yeah, so old man Davis, he made his money. I think it was at Alcoa. So at the ripe age of about 70 plus, he decides he's going to become a developer. Comes down here, he owns at some people say about an eighth of Miami-Dade County. Also is the guy who owned effectively Weston. So he gets in the development game. He goes to the Florida legislature. He gets the legislature to approve a part 2 of Coral Gables. Coral Gables, you got part 1, which is the old stuff from old man George Merrick, and then you got Arthur Vining Davis's portion, which is down here. He gets it approved because what they realized is waterfront was going to generate more tax money. Remember, we're talking about property taxes, 2%, a third to the county, a third to the school, a third to the, yeah. So he gets it added. He comes forward. He puts up what ultimately is going to be Gables Estate, and I think he was involved. He was the one who really built out sort of Cocoa Plum, but he also did Weston. This guy was a powerhouse. They all came about in the 1950s to give people perspective. So the view, the design, everything, even though it's in the Gables, completely different vibe and feel of what you will see over Old Man Merrick's original site.
179 homes in here, Peter.
Okay.
So 179 homes, most of them all on the water. I think actually all of them are on the water. No fixed bridges to the bay. I mean, this is a billionaire's playground. When we were talking about Billionaire Beach last week, well, you got billionaires in here too. You got who's in here? I don't know if Pharrell Williams is a billionaire, but an LLC tied to Ken Billions transacted in here. God, he's freaking everywhere. You got Georgie Moss lives in here. He paid $75 million after selling a couple of other high-profile properties for about $130 million. And then John Ruiz, who, well, we haven't talked about John Ruiz on this show, but he bought a lot of real estate, and he just listed his house in here for $175 million. Derek Jeter's in here.
Don't bring up Derek Jeter.
Oh,
Derek, why'd you get rid of the Florida Marlins home run statue? Why did you change the seating? Why'd you get rid of the fish tank?
We put it on the BSH Award statue, so it lives forever as an NFT, Peter.
Derek Jeter's not a good name to bring on here. His reign of terror for the Miami Marlins, legendary how bad he was. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, not in the slightest. I'm just trying to point out that Miami's, this wealth migration, we talk a lot about condos because, well, we talk a lot about condos on the show, and we were talking about Coconut Grove, and we were talking about Miami Beach. Yep. And, okay, so you got $120 million. And that $125 million is what they're trying to sell the penthouse at the Ritz-Carlton residence in South Beach. All things
good
equal,
value.
You know, $125 million. Or you could buy a few acres in a 30,000 square foot house down here. To each his own, but I just think that this you're buying dirt, you're buying land, you're buying No fixed bridges to the beach. You don't even need a marina. You don't even need to go to Ken Billion's marina over there on Terminal Island. I know it's still an absurd amount of money, but it's art.
Listen,
Peter, it's art.
It is. When you buy a single family house, you are buying a work of art. Each one is unique. The shape of the lot, the trees, the design, the interior, where it's located on the block. A house is a work of art. A condo is a commodity, just like oil, just like salty snacks, and just like pork bellies. What I would say to some of the people looking at some of these houses, fine, buy your house, enjoy your house. I'm sure it's going to be a hell of a burn rate on it, but you might want to consider going out and buying out some of these condos that are struggling, terminating them. You got great dirt. Why would you build a place? Building. Why don't you I did some consulting on a guy, and this guy was brilliant. He put up a complex on Lincoln Road and Alton. Okay. It's on the northeast corner of Lincoln Road and Alton. You know how it worked? Ground floor retail. Next 4 or 5 floors was all parking, $20 a parking space. And on top of that, he built his house. The guy was throwing off more cash than you could imagine. Some of our billionaires out there, get creative. Do something like this. Right there, Daniel. You're nailing it right there. Buy out some of these old condo buildings to put it together and purchase it. If you're dropping $170 million like Mark Zuckerberg did on a half-finished house on Indian Creek, good luck driving there. Oh, my God. The traffic is a nightmare getting there. You got to go over the Broad Causeway. You're stuck on Collins. Yeah, buy out some of these old condos. They were up and down the coast. You can buy out a condo. You get it teared down. Build something like that. Daniel, I don't know if you can zoom in there, but that is what I would say to some of these younger billionaires. Now, I'm not talking about the old codgers like Jeff Bezos. I'm talking about the newer, the crypto billionaires. They ought to be doing something like this. And if you check that out, ground floor retail, then you get into the parking, and at the top is where he's got his house, and you homestead the house. And Governor DeSantis will give you a tax break on the homestead.
$500,000
That's what you do with your money.
Break.
That's what you do with your money. You don't buy one of these houses. You're stuck on Old Cutler Drive. You're trying to get in downtown Miami. Traffic is a nightmare.
It's that right up there on the top left of this image, right? That's it.
Yep, right there. Yep,
and it's not even huge. Yep. It hit the market a few years back. I think they were asking an absurd amount of money for it, like well over $10 million.
This is what we ought to be doing. We ought to be doing something like this with these billionaires, these out-of-the-box thinkers, these disruptors. You got all these old condos. Why not pick them off? When LeBronica James came here, and I call him LeBronica because he left. He came here. When he came here, he was LeBron. First NBA Finals, he choked. We should have won that one. He choked. But we took 2 out of 4. Fair enough. When he left, I started calling him LeBronica. So when LeBronica came here, he could have very easily bought some of these condos. They were in distressed state. He could have bought floors. He could have given everybody in his family a floor. And then when the market turned, he would have been able to cash out. Instead, he buys a house. I think Crystal Road or Crystal Spring or whatever it is, right there
over there in the Grove, right?
Yeah. So maybe he made some money on the sell. I don't know how much he made, but I'm telling you, this is an opportunity. Some of these billionaires who are disruptors, they need to really sort of reconsider. Do you need some house out in Gables Estates? Now it's fine. All right, you like it, but if you got excess cash, like Ken Billions, Mr. Billions, why aren't you picking up this stuff instead of overpaying on a lot of the dirt you're buying? You're getting bad advice, and we're open to lunch. You take us out, but you're paying. And I'm getting extra large. I'm not going medium or large on it. This is the opportunity.
You're getting extra protein.
How to recognize extra protein, exactly.
Extra protein.
I mean, listen, Gables Estates is fine. You want to buy your one, but if you're going to be buying more like Ken Billions is picking up stuff, why are you guys doing the same thing? Why over and over and over? You got this stuff right in front of you. You're getting bad advice. You don't understand the market is what I would argue. Just like LeBronica James did once he left the Heat.
So Gables Estates, you ain't seen nothing yet. I know you don't do single family, Peter, but there's a trend line happening over here in South Miami, Gables Estates, Ponce Davis, and it's going like this. Actually, it's going more near vertical. I think it's just
because the trees. I mean, the trees grow to the moon. That's why the trees will grow to the moon. Therefore, all the prices are going to be backstopped. They're all going to continue to go up.
But it's not like a condo because you own the dirt under the house.
This is true. This is 100% true, and it is a work of art. I'm good with that. It is a work of art. So fine, I'll give you this. Let's say your first one, your mothership. Your mothership can be in Gables Estates. That's fine. But if you're going to tell me you're rolling up and you're going to be buying a bunch of these houses, these estates, with the anticipation you're going to be able to retrade them.
Yeah, no, that's a speculative play. That's a speculative play.
Your first place because your significant other loves it. I get it. I completely get it. But I'm saying when you start to accumulate, how many of these houses?
Right. Why not have the Gables Estates and then your private tower over there in Miami Beach? You have a condo you terminated, and then you put a hotel on the bottom.
Yeah, and if there's no bridge, Gables Estate, you don't need a bridge. You get in the boat and you cruise on over to Miami Beach. Maybe you're going something on Biscayne Bay, up in and around 79th Street in Biscayne. I mean, there's North Bay Village. I mean, listen, this is to the billionaires.
Benihana.
Mr. or Mrs. Billionaire. If you have that cash, there is an opportunity in front of you because of this old stuff. Go ahead, pick off these units, terminate these condos. The locations in which these condos are built are far better, in my opinion, than what you're going to find in Gables Estates. And I realize you need to have your place, your mothership. But that being said, give it some thought. Why not buy out a tower in North Bay Village? You will have views right there, everywhere. Peter. Get it? Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying. This stuff doesn't make sense to me, but I'm a condo guy.
Gables Estates, you ain't seen nothing yet.
I'd have to be a hold on it. I don't know enough about single family. I understand the trend lines, but I also understand that trees don't grow to the moon.
He's a hold. He's watching. Bonus round, Peter. I don't know if you saw, but the hurricane names came out. And maybe we won't.
What are they?
Maybe we won't get to the end of this list because we got El Nino, which is Spanish for the Nino, as we learned last week. But the names, and if you're just listening, I'm gonna read them out. So just bear with me, guys. There's 20-something letters in the alphabet. Arthur, Bertha, Cristobal, Dolly, Edward, like how they spell in Brazil. Faye, Gonzalo, Hannah, Isaias with an S at the end. Josephine, Kyle, Leah, Marco, as in Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Maybe that'll be a really bad storm. Nana, Omar, Paulette, Renee, Sally, Teddy, Vicky. That's my wife's name, and Wilfred. So, do we get to the end of the list this year? I don't know. Which one will be bad? Will any of them be bad? But these are the names from June 1st till what? November 1st hurricane season runs, Peter?
Yes. Listen, and hopefully none of them hit. But if one were to hit, tell me there wouldn't be a better name than Dolly.
Dolly.
And that's a shout out to Mr. 305 Pitbull. He owns the stadium at FIU, which is famous
Dolly, Dolly. I said it with
well, that's a little bit different, but just imagine if a hurricane like that hits an area where they don't necessarily want people who speak Spanish. That would just be classic Hurricane Dolly.
All right, folks. That is the end of our show. This was episode 054. We're well into season 2. Peter and I got lots of surprises for you over this summer. We got guests. We got locations every Friday at 4 p.m. I said Eastern Standard Time, but it's Eastern Daylight Time because, that's what we do here in America. We just change the hours whenever we want. But that's the show. We'll see you next week. Ciao, everybody.